welcome to episode 10 of the Wool Needles Hands podcast. My name is Taylor, and this is a podcast about knitting and making and crafting, and I'm coming to you from Henderson, Nevada, which is where I'm from and where I live with my husband Brandon, our 2-year-old son Angus, and our lazy house cat Oscar. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back and spending some time with me every 2 weeks. If you are a new viewer and subscriber, thank you so much for stopping by and giving the podcast a chance. It's so nice to have new people coming by and discovering the podcast every time I hear from new viewers. It just warms my heart and makes my day. So thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and also subscribe so it comes through your feed every 2 weeks when I post my uploads. Also, don't forget to get involved with the podcast more actively by not only commenting below, but also join the Ravelry group. We have a really bustling Ravelry group over there. You can find it by going to the groups tab and searching in wool, needles, hands podcast, and you can join the Ravelry group there and get involved. You can also find me on Instagram at Wool Needles Hands, and then I also am hand dyeing yarn over at Fiber for the People, which is my new hand dyed yarn business, which launches on June 1st, and the Instagram for that is at fiber.for.the.people. I'm keeping all of the followers on that Instagram account updated on the goings on over here at Fiber for the People headquarters. I am dyeing lots of yarn and posting about it on that Instagram account so you can see what's going to be launching in the shop come June 1st, which is, if this is being uploaded on the day that it should be, which is Wednesday, is tomorrow. So if you haven't heard about Fiber for the People, definitely check that out. There's lots of great yarn coming your way. It is launching tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. So mark your calendar, synchronize your watches, but you definitely want to stay tuned for that because that is coming and there's lots of really great stuff. So don't forget to check that out. So at Wool Needles Hands and at fiber.for.the.people is where you can find me on Instagram. On Ravelry, I'm Wool Needles Hands as well. And to be honest, that is it when it comes to social media. I can only take so much. I don't have a Snapchat or a Periscope. I don't have any of that. I try to stick to Instagram and Ravelry, and that kind of makes it manageable for me. So definitely check those places out. In other big news, you guys, we have surpassed 2,000 subscribers, and I am so excited. Every single time we get to one of these big subscriber milestones, I always get so excited. But to be completely honest, I'm excited anytime I see a new subscriber come through, or my subscriber numbers going up. I just love knowing that this community around this podcast is growing, and it's growing so fast. I started podcasting in February and we're already at 2,000 subscribers. I think I say it every single time, but it blows my mind. So I want to thank you so much for supporting this, for being a part of this community, for participating actively, or even just for watching and coming back every 2 weeks. It really means so much. So I would like to do a 2,000 plus subscriber giveaway because we have surpassed that 2,000 mark. So the prize that I would like to give away for the 2,000 subscriber giveaway is going to be 3 items, 3 really awesome items. The first is a project bag by Hannah-Lisa Hafferkamp, who has an Etsy shop where she makes her own project bags that are beautiful. They're gorgeous. She is also the host of the Hannah on the Road podcast, which you definitely need to check out because it's awesome. And this is her project bag. So we have here the first item, project bag by Hannah-Lisa Hafferkamp, who has her Etsy shop. This is a gorgeous, beautifully constructed project bag, has her label sewn in on the inside. There's a really nice pocket in here and a cool keychain that is attached to the inside of the project bag where you can hang stitch markers or, whatever, scissors, what have you. So this project bag, in addition to a skein of yarn by a yarn dyer who is by Tilia on Instagram, this is the skein of yarn that will be given out for the 2,000 subscriber giveaway. It's beautiful. The colors just look so gorgeous together. They remind me of flowers in a garden, and I love it so much. This is on a 75/25 merino nylon. It's 423 meters, which is 463 yards and 100 grams. And it comes with a cute little progress keeper, and it's gorgeous. So this is by Tilia on Instagram. It's actually by _Tilia. So that is gorgeous. And then, in addition to that, I am also going to be providing a skein of my own hand-dyed yarn from Fiber for the People. And this is a skein of the colorway Pearl Jam. It's been a really popular colorway on Instagram. I'm really excited about that. I'll pull this up so you can see what's going on in here. So this is Pearl Jam, and this will also be coming to you for the 2,000 subscriber giveaway. This is on my Stellina base. It's a gold Stellina base. It's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% gold Stellina, and it's beautiful. It's a 2-ply, so it has a twist, which makes for really great stitch definition, and I love the colors in this yarn. So you will be receiving these 2 skeins of yarn, Fiber for the People yarn, as well as Bytilia yarn, and also Project Bag by Hannah-Lisa Haferkamp. All of these things will be coming your way for the 2,000 subscriber giveaway, and this is all you have to do. We're going to do this here on YouTube down below in the comment section. You don't have to go to a Ravelry page to participate in this, but what you do have to do is definitely be a subscriber to the channel, like the video, give it a thumbs up, and then down below in the comment section, you just need to answer this one question. What is your one knitting, crocheting, weaving, sewing, whatever craft you participate in most actively, what is your one confession of that craft? What's the one sin that you'd like to confess to that maybe you don't admit outright in your craft? Leave that down below in the comments section. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video, answer that question down below in the comments, and I will choose from those responses randomly on the next episode of the podcast, and that person will be receiving this prize. So go ahead and comment away. We have one knit along going on right now and one spin along going on right now, and I'm so excited about both of them because they're both so cool, so much fun. I've never done anything like either of these. One launched on April 22nd, and that is the Great Unravel 2017, and what we are doing there is harvesting fiber from thrifted sweaters and using that fiber to knit up a new project as a means to celebrate when this started, when this launched. It was a way to celebrate Earth Day, and so that's going on right now. It's a lot of fun. If you want more information on that, make sure to check out the video that pops up over here. That is a promotional video for the Great Unravel 2017 knit along, and it tells you everything you need to know to get started. And then also you want to check out the Ravelry page because there is a thread over there that gives some information, plus there's lots of fun chatter going on, and we actually have some finished objects being posted in the FO thread over there as well. Some really, really awesome stuff that you guys are creating, so definitely get involved with that. There's a bag down here below me, and you shouldn't get in that bag. Why don't you come out here and meet the viewers? Okay. This, for the first time, I think this is the first time, is Oscar. Oscar hangs out in here when I podcast, but he never really comes around to be in front of the camera. But when I came in here to sit down to podcast today, he was sitting here on my chair like he wanted to be involved. And so here he is making his Wool Needles Hands podcast debut. So Oscar, what do you have to say? Yeah, that's important. Anything else? Okay. Oh, you have cat food breath. You ready to get down? Okay, we'll see you later. I just went... Oh. Sorry, that was a cat quake. He seems to be on his way now. All right, so where were we? In addition to the Great Unravel 2017, we are also doing the Spin for All 2017. And when I say we, I'm talking about Katie from the Arrow Knits podcast and Joy from the Anxious Knitter podcast. We have decided to come together and host a spin along for newbie spinners as well as veteran spinners. And when I say spinners, I mean drop spindlers, I guess I should say. This is a spin along just for people using drop spindles, no spinning wheels allowed. There is also a promotional video for this spin along that is going to be popping up right here, and I would like you to check that out if you are interested in getting involved, if you are interested in picking up the drop spindle and taking it for a spin. But this is definitely for people who have no idea what they're doing when it comes to spin-alongs, just as well as it is for people who do know what they're doing and can kind of provide that support in our chatter thread. So definitely check out the video that popped up over here to get a little bit more information about that spin-along, because it's going to be a lot of fun. I am going to be doing a special prize for that spin along for the finished objects, but I haven't determined what that's going to be yet, but it is going to be really cool. And when the next podcast gets uploaded, I will be sharing with you the prize for the Spin for All 2017 spin along here on the Wool Needles Hands podcast. But remember, you can totally triple dip in this spin along. If you would like to enter your finished object into all 3 of our finished object threads, that is totally fine, and you triple your chances of getting a prize. So check that out. Check out the other podcasts as well. Not only are they awesome podcasts, they are giving additional information on that spin along. Today I'm having green tea, and I wish I had the little wrapper that came with the tea because it was a gift to me. Wait, I have this little thing. Okay, this doesn't really tell me much about what it is, but it was a gift. It is by Cupper, which is a German tea, if I'm not mistaken, because everything that was written, I believe it was written in German. I couldn't really read it. I noticed the word mate on there, and so I'm assuming that this is a green tea, plus it tastes like green tea, but it is Cupper, natural, fair, and delicious, and it's really, really good. I like green tea most of the time. I think sometimes some green teas are very strong and almost have this weird, dare I say, fishy taste. Is that weird? Does that ever happen to you where you have green tea and it kind of has like a fishy taste? I don't know. I think there might be something wrong with my taste buds if I think that green tea tastes like fish. Have you experienced that? I just definitely have. But this is really good. This tastes more to me like the green tea that you get if you go eat at a nice Chinese food. I guess maybe Japanese restaurants maybe give out green tea, but it's kind of more like that jasmine green tea. But it's really good. I really like it. So Hannah, thank you so much for the tea and everything else, of course. But yeah, that's what I'm drinking. I never really have a what am I wearing segment, only because I haven't knit a lot of garments. I have one sweater that I've knit, but it's way too hot for me to be wearing a knit sweater, and you will see it soon eventually, I'm sure. And I haven't sewn anything for myself yet, which we're not even going to get into. We'll talk about that in another episode. You can watch the previous episode and you'll understand why we're not talking about that right now. But I have that today. I have a what am I wearing today, and it's not this dress. It's actually this cute little crocheted collar that I have that I'm wearing over this dress. This is just a basic crew neck black kind of baby doll style dress, and this crocheted collar that I'm wearing was a gift to me, and I was going to share it with you I was going to share it with you in the acquisition section, but I really wanted to wear it because it's so cute, and I've seen these before, and I always thought it would be really nice to have a knit or crocheted kind of collar to put over a crew neck blouse or dress just like this one. So this was given to me by Pow, who is the host of the Pow Knits podcast. We just completed a fiber swap, he and I. I sent him off some yarn and he sent me back not only some really great yarn, but some other goodies too that I'm going to share with you later on in the podcast. But this was one of them that he sent me, and I really wanted to share it with you early because I was planning on wearing it. But this is just a crocheted collar that he crocheted. He didn't crochet it especially for me. He had it in his collection. He had crocheted it a while ago, and he decided to share it with me, to send it, over the pond, if you will, to me. He is in Barcelona, Spain, if you don't watch the podcast. And I couldn't be more thrilled. If I keep looking over here, I'm just looking at it in the screen of the camera because I really, really love the way it looks. I don't typically wear lots of, embellishments in addition to my clothing. I very rarely wear earrings. Sometimes I'll wear a necklace, but even then I don't do that very often. I don't know why. I have nothing against those things. I guess I just don't think about it. But this, I really, really love this. I'm going to take it off for a moment because I'd like you to see it a little bit more closely, but it's so beautiful. All the way down to just this really cute button that he added here. So this is it. It's so pretty, and these colors, I love these colors. Like, I feel like I would have chosen these colors for myself if I were making this for me. But yes, I think this is just beautiful, and it's so well made, and I'm so impressed because I'm going to learn how to crochet. I haven't figured that part out yet, but I'm going to learn, and I'm so impressed anytime I see somebody whip out something like this. So, Pow, I can't thank you enough for this. It is just so generous and thoughtful, and I love it so much, so thank you. Whoops, let's make sure I can put it back on correctly. But yeah, I thought when I received that, I think, like, that's just so special for somebody to give you something like this that, you know, they made. It means a lot to me. So let me make sure I can get it back on without it popping off. There we go. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing this episode. Oh, and before I forget, now I know that there's probably some of you out there that couldn't care less about what I'm about to show you, but you guys, I got a new lip gloss and I want to tell you about it. I was at Anthropologie yesterday, and I haven't been to Anthropologie in a while. If you're not familiar with the store Anthropologie, it is a really, really beautiful, beautifully curated clothing slash accessories slash homeware store. Lots of real kind of earthy vibes in there. The clothing is kind of got a vintagey feel to it. It's gorgeous. Definitely look it up if you're not familiar with Anthropologie. I kind of feel like anybody, because I know it is an international shop, but it's a beautiful, beautiful store. Everything just is so unique and beautiful, and I love it. But anyway, this lip gloss that I got came from there, and I've gotten lipstick that is by this brand that I've purchased at Anthropologie before that is my favorite, or some of my favorites. So I just wanted to share this with you. If you don't care about this, you can definitely scoot ahead if you want, but if you do care about it, then here we go. It comes in this really cool, super fancy container, and it's just a potted lip balm slash gloss, and it has, so you can see kind of like what I mean by gloss. It's super soft. It kind of has like a jelly consistency to it, but I'm wearing it right now, but I've had a couple drinks of the tea, so it might be a little bit kind of gone anyway, but I love it so much. I'm not usually one to buy lip gloss like this because you have to stick your finger in it and put it on your mouth, and if you're not someplace where you can wash your hands, maybe you feel weird about that. And I'm not like a germaphobe, and honestly I'm really not that weird about that, but I don't know, I guess I just don't gravitate to this. But when I saw this, I tested it in the store and I loved it so much. This is the Black Cherry lip balm, and it is by why is there no, there's no brand on this, and I threw the box away. But I'm gonna link below the name of this lip balm. They sell it at Anthropologie. I love it so much. If you're into glossy, fun lip wear, then definitely check this out because it's really great and fancy. It makes me feel fancy because it's got a gold cap. That's all you need to feel fancy is a little bit of gold. So I have some Ask Me Anything questions that I want to share with you guys today. This is a thread on the Ravelry group where I just kind of open it up to viewers to ask me questions. Anything you want to know, any question you might have, feel free to ask me. And I don't know if that's, you know, something people are really interested in. I know that when I watch podcasts, I always kind of think of things in my head that I would like to ask the person that I'm watching. And so I think it's really cool to have that option because it's nice to have that, you know, avenue of getting to know somebody a little bit better. You can ask me anything. It doesn't have to be knitting related. You could, whatever you want. You can ask me on the Ask Me Anything thread. So I do have a couple of those that I'd like to share with you guys. Okay, so the first question that I want to respond to is brought to you by Spunky in LA, which is Glinda from Scenery Hill, Pennsylvania. I just love your podcast and look forward to each episode. A huge congrats on the upcoming opening of your hand-dyed yarns, Fiber for the People, on June 1st. Thank you. I have been crocheting for many, many years and knitting for around 9 years. When I first learned, however, it was with yarn that I could purchase from Hobby Lobby, Walmart, etc. When I became aware of the much nicer yarns, I usually went with the recommended yarn in a pattern. Now that I've found indie dyers, wow, what a whole new wonderful and colorful world of yarn has opened up to me. My question, though, is can you possibly explain the meaning of the different plies, etc., like woolen spun, single ply, etc., and what projects would be best suited for those particular types of yarn? I've heard that single plies aren't the best for garments as they are likely to pill, and 100% wool may not be best for socks, etc. Thanks so much, and I can't wait for June 1st. Glinda. Okay, Glenda. Now, I definitely don't claim to be an expert on plies and fiber in general. However, when I did start getting into hand dyeing yarn, and now especially with Fiber for the People coming down the pipe, I have been doing my homework so I can understand a little bit more about exactly what you're asking here, because it helps me understand what yarn bases to offer in my shop and why to offer them, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to share with you what I know now, just briefly. I'm not going to go too involved or too in depth with this, but I will give you a really great book recommendation if you are interested in this when I get done. But I'm just going to kind of share with you what I know right now. So yarn plies are just individual strands of fiber or individual strands of yarn that are twisted together to create a plied yarn. So if you're looking at a strand of yarn and you notice that there's a little bit of a twist going on in there, then that means that you have more than one ply being twisted together. So that's what a ply is. Now you have single ply yarn, which we just call singles. You have a 2-ply yarn, a 3-ply yarn, and then a 4-ply yarn. And sometimes you can go even more plies, and usually you are now getting into cabled yarns, which is what you get when you ply 2 plied yarns. So it's like taking a 2-ply and a 2-ply and plying them together, and that's what we call cable plied yarns or cable yarns. But we'll start with single ply. So a single ply yarn is the type of yarn that you see when you notice that there is no twist, that it is just a long strand of fiber that makes up the yarn. And in fact, I have a single ply right here that I can show you. So this is one of my hand-dyed yarns that I'm going to be showing later on in the show, but you're kind of getting a sneak peek at it now. And this is a single ply yarn. So this right here, I'm going to hold it up so you can see. I don't know if you can see the ply. Let me hold this side up so I can get free one of these strands. I'll talk more about the colorway of this yarn in a little bit. We'll just focus on the question. So I don't know if you can see that there, but that is a single ply of yarn. And you can also see it here in the knob of this skein, that these are single plies of yarn. There is no twisting going on here. It is a single strand of fiber that was spun to a fingering weight, and that's all we have here. Single ply yarns are really quite desirable. They're beautiful, they're soft, they really take dye well, and they look really pretty dyed up using all different kinds of color patterns. They just seem to show the color off really nicely. They make for a really pretty canvas. So this, like I said, is a single ply, and I really love the way that this colorway looks on this yarn. More about this colorway later. I'm just going to set that back here for now. So single ply yarns. Here's what we know about those. They do have a tendency to pill, and this is why people don't usually knit them into garments or more harder wearing items, because that constant agitation on the fiber is just going to cause that fiber to ball up and create little pills on the surface layer of whatever fabric it is that you're making. So that's kind of one of the downfalls of single ply yarn. And actually, when you really think about the list of things that you can make successfully with single ply yarn, that list is rather short. It is nice to make shawls with single ply yarn. I really like the way that that looks. I have not made a full shawl with a single ply yarn myself, but I have seen shawls made with single ply yarn, and I really think it looks very lovely. I know Stephen West has done a few of his shawls with single ply hedgehog fiber skinny singles, and it looks great. But one thing about single ply yarn, and this isn't just single ply, this is also really tightly twisted, any kind of smooth fiber like silk, is that it has a tendency to bias. So that means that when you've knit a fabric with a single ply yarn, and usually it's referring to a fabric that's rather tightly knit or firmly knit, it will have a tendency to kind of lean. The stitches will lean as you knit with them, and that's because the fiber, the yarn, is grabby. Even a superwash single tends to be a little bit grabby. The little scales on the outside of the yarn, on kind of like encasing the fibers, and this is if we're talking about non-superwash yarns, those scales can kind of lock together, be a little bit more grabby, and cause the stitches to lean. If you're working with a superwash yarn, you don't have those little scales, but there is still a tendency that those fibers will grab onto one another, causing the stitches to bias a little bit. So that's something that can happen too. But if you're using your single ply yarn in something that's more loosely knit, you're not going to have that much of a problem with that, because the fibers are not as tightly knit together. So that's something that we know about single ply yarn. When you start getting into multiple plies of yarn, that's what happens when you take single plies and you twist them together. Now you have plied yarn. Those are yarns that are created from multiple single plies being woven together, being twisted or spun together. Now, when you add plies, that doesn't necessarily mean you're adding thickness, because the single plies can be spun to a really, really thin weight and plied together with another really, really thin ply as well, and you can have a fingering weight yarn, or you can have a 2-ply bulky yarn. It just depends on how thick or thin the individual plies were spun. So it's important to know that just because it's a 4-ply doesn't mean that it's going to be a thicker weight yarn. It just means that it has more individual single plies spun together to make that yarn. We do know that the more plies you have in a yarn, the more dense the fabric will be, because there are more plies, more strands of yarn stacked on top of one another, and that usually lends itself to more stability in whatever it is that you are knitting. So your fabric is just going to be more stable, a little bit less susceptible to wear. So usually 3-ply, 2-3-ply yarns are used for socks, 4-ply yarns as well. I really prefer a 2-ply twist for my socks. That's my favorite yarn base for socks because I love the stitch definition. I love knitting socks with that yarn, but 3-ply just adds that little bit more, that little higher level of durability, I guess you could say. So that's what happens when you get a 2 or a 3-ply. And then you also have cabled yarns, which, like I said in the beginning, is what happens when you ply 2 plied yarns together, kind of making this compound plied yarn. So like an 8-ply. So cabled yarns, because there are lots of plies going on in there, make for really, really excellent stitch definition, and that's why those yarns are preferred when knitting cables and anything that has a really definite stitch pattern, because you're going to get a lot of that great stitch definition. Single ply yarns are kind of on the other side of that spectrum, really, and this is something that I'm experiencing with one of my works in progress, which I'll talk about when we get to that segment. Single ply yarns are really not going to give you that stitch definition because there's not a lot of definition in the fiber itself. It's a single ply. It's kind of inconsistent. Even though it might be a single weight all the way across, there is going to be some inconsistency there because there's nothing holding it in place, really. It's just a single ply of yarn. And so that stitch definition is not going to be there like it would be with a higher number of plies or a cabled yarn. So I guess you kind of use that information to determine how you're going to use your yarn, what you're going to be knitting with those yarns. But like I said, if you're working on socks or shawls, I mean, you really can't go wrong with a 2 or a 3-ply yarn or even a 4-ply yarn. Shawls are pretty versatile, and most yarns will work nicely in shawls because they are more loosely knit, I guess, depending on the pattern. But just keep in mind, socks and mittens and things like that, single ply yarns aren't really preferred. I am currently knitting a pair of socks with a single ply yarn, and we'll open that can of worms when we get to it, but that's not really recommended for the reasons that I stated in the beginning. It's just not as durable of a fiber to be knitting something as hard wearing as a sock with. Another thing that you mentioned in your question is knitting with 100% wool yarn. Like, why would that not be suitable for socks? Now, if you have ever worn a pair of socks that was 100% wool, you probably didn't get much wear out of them before you noticed holes in the heels. And that's because when you don't have that nylon fiber running through your yarn, you're really just dealing with hair, essentially. It's a hair that grows on an animal that when you rub it enough is going to deteriorate just like anything else. And so you need something in there that provides just that little bit of structure and stability and strength that's going to keep it from just rubbing away. So that's why typically there's always some kind of a nylon or a polymade filament running through fibers like that when you're going to be wearing them on your feet and walking around in them. So that's kind of why you stay away from 100% wool for things like that. But when it comes to anything else, I don't see any reason why you couldn't use 100% non-superwash wool for any other type of garment, because really, even if it's gloves, it's not nearly as hard wearing as socks that you wear on your feet. So, okay, the next question was from Snoopy's Girl, which is Mandy from Minnesota. She says or asks, "Hello, Taylor and friends. friends. When I knit, sometimes my hands get sweaty, especially if I'm doing a more complicated stitch, when I'm working a sock heel or I mess up and have to rip back a few rows. Is there anything that you do or anyone else does that helps when hands get sweaty? It is a big frustration for me. My sweaty hands affects the yarn and make my work look fuzzy. I hope someone can help me with this. Okay, Mandy, yes, I know what you're talking about. I experienced this myself. I am such a sweaty handed knitter when I'm doing things that require maybe a little bit of kind of thought and brain power, or I'm stressed about what I'm working on because I made a mistake and I have to tink back or I have to rip back, whatever, what have you. This does happen to me and it is so frustrating. It is up there on my list of pet peeves when it comes to knitting, because when your hands can't hold on to the needles very well, or your yarn is sticking to your skin because it's clammy, like it just drives me crazy. And so this is what I do. I use pure cornstarch baby powder. I keep a little container of pure cornstarch baby powder in my knitting bag, or my knitting basket, I should say, so that way I can put a little bit on my hands whenever they start to get clammy, and it doesn't take very much. I'm wearing black, so this is probably going to get on my shirt, and I choose to use the pure cornstarch kind. I don't really like the talc kind. I guess, you hear a lot of bad things about talcum powder, so I just use the cornstarch kind because that was what we used on Angus and what we still use on Angus from time to time, so I kind of commandeered that from him. But I just put a little bit on my hands, kind of like this, and rub it together, and that's it. I mean, it doesn't make a huge mess and you don't have a whole ton on your hands, but it just helps significantly that like clammy hand feeling that you get in situations like that. So baby powder for the win, definitely. Thank you for those questions. Again, if you have any questions that you'd like to have me answer here on the show or on the Ravelry group, or just anything, ask away. And you can ask it on the Ask Me Anything thread on Ravelry. You can ask it down below in the comment section, whatever you want, but ask away. I'd be more than happy to give you an answer if I have one, or to direct you in the direction of an answer that can help you. So Susan from the Knitlib podcast kind of did like a call out. I mean, maybe it wasn't a formal call out, but Tommy from Squirrel Pie Productions kind of got involved, and so I'm thinking that I'm going to get involved because I like this. Anyway, she decided to start the whole what's in your knitting bag thing, but all she did was she shared what was in her knitting bag. And so I'm just going to take a minute and share with you what's in my knitting bag. And I don't know what fun play on words I have for that, but my knit kit, knit bits, I have nothing. So I'm just going to show you what's in my bag because that's what this is all about. So thanks, Susan. Now I have baby powder fingerprints on my black dress. This is making it worse. What do I have? Wow. Note to self, don't get involved in baby powder when you're wearing black. Okay, so you may have remembered from a few episodes ago that one of my acquisitions was this really cool knitting basket that I picked up at an antique store. Not an antique store, excuse me, I take it back. At a yarn shop in Boulder City, Nevada. They were selling it. It is an antique, but they were selling it in the yarn shop. And this is where I keep some of my knitting projects. I have a basket where I put my projects that I'm not currently working on at the moment. This is where I keep the project that I am actually working on at that day, at that moment in time, so that if I have to stop and walk away, I can just drop it in here and be done instead of having to zip it back up and put it away completely. So this is my knitting basket. I usually just fold it up and stick it between the couches. Even if there's a project in there, I just kind of fold it up. But let's see what we have in here. First thing I have in here, and I always keep this around me whenever I'm knitting, or if I go someplace to do some knitting, I usually will always take it with me. It is my Notions pouch. And this is just a roll-up tie pouch that was given to me by my mom. She's had this for a long time, and it's like a travel cosmetics pouch that you don't hang it from anywhere, but you'll know what I mean. It has this handle on the inside. I'm not sure what that's for, but it's this. And it has all these cool little fun zipper sections where I keep various different things. So I have some stitch markers here, my needles, my darning needles, and my little needle, knitting needle covers, protectors. Then up here, I have some various other things. There's highlighter tape, some more stitch markers, my little bread clips that I like to use on the ends of my knitting projects to keep my yarn tails in check. So these just are bread clips. I collect them. I don't always keep them from every like bread bag that I have, but I like to collect them if I know I'm running low. I don't think this is a secret. I think that other people do this too, but I always keep a nail file in my notions bag because sometimes my nails will get snaggy, and what's worse than having clammy hands is having snaggy fingernails picking at your yarn. So there's some of that. I have, nail clippers. Tommy, I know you mentioned that you don't have anything cool in your knitting bag, like a lotion bar. I don't think that that makes you cool or not cool, but I do have a Lolo bar in here. I have a Lolo bar in my notions bag, and I also have a lotion bar. I have a lot of lotion. It's like I'm worried about dry skin. I have a Seaside Yarns lotion bar that was given to me by Tina, who was my Fibershare partner, and I love this so much. This stays here in my basket. So I have a Lolo bar in my notions bag, I have a lotion bar in my knitting basket, and then I also have a bottle that is almost gone of like one of my favorite lotions of all time. This is the Hemp's lotion. Love this stuff so much. You can see that it's almost all gone. And this is the Sweet Pineapple and Honey Melon fragrance. I wish we had smell-o-vision. There's so many things I would have you smell. It's so good. I love it. So that's in here. I have a little mini skein of the colorway Duckling by Yarn Cafe Creations. Christy gifted this to me when we met each other at Vogue Knitting Live, and I keep it in here because sometimes I need some extra yarn that I can see really well in knitting projects for lifelines, so that's what I'm using this for. I have a measuring tape, which doesn't work anymore because Angus pulled the little tab completely off, and he's not a very destructive child, but sometimes he'll do things like that, and then he'll do it, and then he knows it probably wasn't supposed to happen, and so he kind of just looks at it and it's like, uh-oh, and he hands it back to me, you know, gingerly. And then now I have this that doesn't work anymore. My drop spindle is in here, waiting for me to get started. This is a work in progress as well, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I have my sock ruler. This is a sock ruler. You stick it into your sock and it kind of gives you an idea of how long your sock leg or your sock foot is. Got this at Vogue Knitting Live. Really love this. It's been very helpful. I usually have myriad chapsticks in my knitting basket, but I actually only have this one. This is the Sprouts brand lip balm. I really love this stuff. It's just a basic lip balm. I don't think it has, oh no, coconut mango. Again, smell-o-vision opportunity wasted. Pencils and pens. Oh, my Susan Bates knit check gauge thingy. What do they call this? A gauge? Keep it, see, I don't check my gauge. I don't use that. I never have a full swatch that I put this thing up to and like count my stitches using these little right angle things here. I never do that. I check it for my needle size. That's why I have it, because I'll double check needle sizes. But yeah, I really should be more, you know, on top of checking my gauge, but you know, I'm okay up to this point. But yeah, I have this in here for the needle size, pretty much strictly only for that. But that's, oh, more lotion. You guys, I think I have a phobia of dry skin, which is crazy. But here's another really great recommendation. I don't know if you're into Avon, but they have some brick and mortar Avon stores here in town, and they sell this new hand cream called Silicone Glove. You guys, I love this stuff. It reminds me of the Neutrogena Norwegian Formula hand lotion, which I absolutely adore, but this is really great, and they sell it through Avon, so it's called Silicone Glove. It's awesome. I love it. So that's what's in my knitting basket. So I'm challenging all you other podcasters out there, and well, I guess I'm not directly challenging you. I think Susan kind of started this whole thing, but let's all share what's in our knitting baskets slash bags slash notions, pouches, what have you. I have lots of works in progress going on right now because something happened. And I know it's going around right now because I see lots of people talking about it on Instagram and on other podcasts. But castonitis is out there. And if you're not careful, like really, really careful, you're going to get it. And it's bad when it hits. It hits fast and hard, and there's no coming out of it. And I am suffering from castonitis like nobody's business. And I think I may have just exaggerated that a little bit too much because I don't have that much stuff going on. But I just have this urge to cast things on. I think that a lot of it has to do with all of this really beautiful yarn that's coming down the pipe for Fiber for the People, because all I've been wanting to do is cast projects on with this yarn. And I love it so much. So the first project that I'm going to share with you is one where I am using all of my own hand-dyed yarn. So this is all Fiber for the People yarn. And it was a little further along than it is right now because I realized that I had made a mistake and I needed to go back a little bit. But it is the Exploration Station shawl by Stephen West. It's my first Stephen West knit project and I'm so excited. I have been watching people knit these shawls for days and days and days. Months and months and months. And I've been wanting to cast on to something for the longest time, and I don't know what's been stopping me. But Tommy from Squirrel Pie Productions, Tommy, I'm looking at you. This is all your fault because on your I think it was your most recent episode, or maybe your 2 episodes back, you showed your exploration station. And you talked about how great it was, and it was beautiful. Your own hand-dyed yarn that you're using is gorgeous. She has Moonstone Dye Works, which is her own hand-dyed yarn company, and her yarn is gorgeous. And I loved what you were working on. So I figured, hey, let's use some of my own hand-dyed yarn and cast onto an exploration station. The rest is history, because even though what I'm about to show you is not very much, I don't have a whole lot done, this pattern is so much fun to knit. If you haven't done it yet, you need to get you 4 really pretty colors of yarn and get started because it is so much fun to knit this pattern. It keeps you going, it keeps you interested. The I-cord edging is so easy, but it's so pretty. Should I just show you already? I should. Okay, so I'm kind of like in the middle of a row because like I said, I had to go back a few because I had messed something up, but here is what I have so far of my exploration station. So I'm going to try and get this to focus for you here. I really, really love this pattern. So like I said, this is all being knit up in my own hand-dyed yarn, and I'm going to show you the cakes that I'm going to be using. There's lots of light coming through the little eyelets happening here. But I really, really love this so far. I am using, this is called Espresso Roast. This is Craig Nadoon. This is Drop Cloth, and the next one that I'm working on now, but you can't really see it, is Peach Pit. Now, Craig Nadoon is the only colorway that I'm using here that is not on my gold stellina base. Everything else is on my gold stellina base because I'm obsessed with my gold stellina base. It's gorgeous. So I'm going to show you the cakes of yarn that go along with this project. Okay, so the color A for this is, like I said, Espresso Roast. This is a Lucky Strike colorway. What that is, and this is what I've been doing when I dye my yarn, is when I'm creating my regular colorways, typically the tea strainers that I use for my speckling get a little bit of residual dye powder in the strainer themselves, and I have to rinse them out into a pot of clear water. And I don't like to waste that dye, and so what I do is I take that kind of combination of dye that was created in this little dye bath, and I'll dye a few skeins of yarn in that to create a really cool, unique color. And it's, you know, promoting that whole waste not, want not. And the colors that come from that are really, really beautiful. So this is one of those. In the shop, I'll have just a few of these because it is a smaller batch, definitely one of a kind. However, I am going to try and recreate this colorway the best that I can because I really love it as a neutral. So this is Espresso Roast, and it's just a really pretty taupe neutral, and there is the gold stellina running through. I'm hoping that you can see that gold stellina because it is really beautiful in this color. I love it so much. So this is the first color that I'm using, and then following this color is my Craig Nadoon colorway. So here's Craig Nadoon. Any of you Outlander fans will know the inspiration for this colorway. So I apologize for the messy cake here, but I'm loving the way that this knits up. It's really, really beautiful, and I don't have very much of it going right now in the project, but there's a little bit here, and it's really just gorgeous. these greens mixed with the coppery, more tobacco colors coming through, plus the gray. Oh, they play off of one another so well. And it's just, I'm loving it so much. I'm really, really thrilled with the way that that's coming out. And you can kind of see all of those colors represented here in the side of the cake. You can see the grays coming through and these kind of tobacco colors coming in. There's the emerald greens. Oh, I'm really in love with this colorway. I know I'm completely biased. You know, it is my own creation. But you guys, I have to tell you that I could totally have a Smeagol moment and sit next to my, you know, big yarn cabinet where I keep all of my Fiber for the People yarn and just like pet my yarn and call them my pretties and be sent to the loony bin, because I'm really, really in love with what I'm creating. I think it's important that what you're creating is something that you love. And so it makes me feel so good knowing that what I'm creating and sharing with you guys soon is something that I am just so excited about and I love so much and I want to knit with, because I know you're going to want to knit with it as well. So that, you know, my first two colors there. Let's move on. Okay, geez. My next color in the lineup is another favorite. Oh, they're all my favorite. They're all my babies. This is drop cloth, my spring drop cloth colorway on a gold stellina base. It is here and it's beautiful. Lots of various, there's some mauve in there, some really pretty greens, some blushes coming through. The gold stellina version of this colorway is definitely more on the yellow side. What you're seeing on the screen is pretty accurate. But what happens is when you knit it up, it's definitely going to mute down that yellow and make it, but see, I love this saturated yellow. I think it's beautiful. But yeah, it does mute it down a little bit, and it's really great for faded projects because all of the different speckles going on in the yarn here, they kind of are distributed in the fabric in such a way that they could pick up colors in lots of other colored yarns out there. So it's a very versatile speckled yarn. So I'm really happy with that. And there is a little bit in here. I wish I had more going on here so you could kind of see the yarn up a little bit better. But here is the spring drop cloth colorway right here. So you can kind of see the variation in color happening. Now I know that in the pattern for this, it's written that you might want to consider going down in needle size if you tend to be a loose knitter, because it would make the stitches much more open. And as you can see here, my stitches, there's lots of sun coming through, meaning you can, or lots of light coming through. But I really, really like it that way because I think it'll make the fabric a little bit less dense. If you're wrapping it around your neck and having it in layers already, that less dense fabric is really nice in my opinion. But I just love the way these colors are working up together. My next color is going to be Peach Pit. This is another one on my gold stellina, and the stellina mixed with the colorway, I'm not kidding you, in person, and maybe even when I show it to you here, it makes it look frosted. I love it. When it comes out of the dye pot and it's hanging and drying, after it's dried is when I notice it. It gives me all the feels because of how beautiful it looks with that gold stellina. I prefer this colorway with the gold stellina for that reason, but to be honest, it's pretty all across the bases. So here is Peach Pit. It's blowing it out here a little bit. To get a really good idea of Peach Pit, check out Instagram for Fiber for the People at fiber.for.the.people. You can kind of get a better idea of this colorway. If I kind of pull it back a little bit, you can kind of... But it's beautiful peachy tones with the gold stellina, and it has the little berry pops of pink, and that's supposed to represent the inside of a peach, literally a peach pit. When you're looking at this in the dye pots, it's amazing how much it looks like a peach pit. I love it. Seriously, it's one of my favorites. You can't really see anything going on in here yet because I haven't made it to that point. All I have right now with Peach Pit is this first little layer of stitches going on. You see more of Peach Pit on my Wool Needles Hands Instagram because that was a picture that I had taken of this project before I realized I had made a mistake, so you could check that out. But I'm loving these colors together. I'm loving this pattern. I'm really loving my Progress Keeper too, which was another gift from my Fiber Share partner. It's just a little sea turtle with a green gem. So pretty. So yeah, you guys, I'm digging this knitting project. If you have not, like I said, cast it onto an exploration station, get it going because it's fun. And if you have cast-on-itis like me, then let's just, wallow in our cast-on-itis and knit all of the shawls. My next work in progress is for the Great Unravel 2017, and you guys, I am so excited about this. In the last episode, I was talking about my Espenson top that I was knitting with my recycled fiber, which is a cotton Ramie blend, and my cake is starting to come apart because I'm running out. So this is my cotton Ramie blend fiber that I harvested for the Great Unravel knit along. And what happened is when I was knitting my Espenson top, my fiber split, not split, more like snapped right in the middle of a row, and it kind of just, I knew I could have fixed it and moved on, but I think what it did was it confirmed the idea in my head that I really just did not want to be working on that project, that I wanted to do something on a smaller scale with all the things that I have going on, something more manageable. And so it was the straw that broke the camel's back for moving me towards finding something a little bit more manageable. And I'm so happy that I did. I frogged that project and I'm totally okay with that. And I cast it on to the Eileen bag, which is a really cool market bag that is going to be really nice and big. And the pattern is super easy. So yeah, I'm so happy I decided to do that and to move on with that project, because now I have a really fun project that I can just pull out and start working on it. The pattern is super easy to memorize. It moves by really, really fast. I'm not much further than I was in my last Instagram post because I have, the cast-on-itis. It's got me. So, but I've been doing some other things for Fiber for the People, getting us ready for the June 1st launch. So I've been, a little bit busy, but this is what I have so far, and I'm really excited. So here is the base of the bag. It's just a rectangle, so it's just a stockinette rectangle. And then when you get done with this, you just pick up stitches along the edges, and you start creating kind of like your bag. It's really hard to show you, I guess, like what is going to become of this. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've gotten so far. So now I'm just working up the sides of the bag, and then when I get up to the top, I will do the straps. And this is the simple mesh pattern that makes up the bag. It's really, really easy. It's just knitting and yarn overing, and it creates this really cool bias, mesh pattern. And you guys, it's so simple. I love the pattern. It's super easy to keep track of. It's just very intuitive and easy and fun. You can grab it and go and not have to think too much about it. You could probably even leave the pattern at home because it's so easy to memorize. But I'm really, really excited about it. I know, Susan, that you decided to knit this for one of your projects, and you will not be disappointed. It's so much fun. And also, what's really great about things like this is that your stitch count matters, of course, but if you kind of like mess up the stitch pattern, which I did a few rows back, it's really easy to fudge it and it's completely invisible. You would never notice. So I guess that's not like a selling point because you don't want to mess up if you don't have to, but yeah, I really love it. I knit a few more because it calls for 3 rows of stockinette stitch before you start the mesh pattern, but I knit about 2 more than what it called for because I wanted a little bit more of a lip of stockinette in the bottom of the bag. So here's kind of that lip of stockinette right here, just to kind of be a little bit more, just in case smaller things get, dropped into the bag so they don't just immediately fall out of the mesh holes. So I don't know. I guess I could have made it a little bit bigger to make it worth it, but I just did a few more thinking about that. So that's that. So this is the Eileen bag, and I really, really am enjoying it. So last episode I had a hoe, and it was the hoe that was part of my February socks. And I'm calling them my February socks because they're being knit in the exclusive February color by Long Dog Yarn, which is Brandy at Long Dog Yarn, which I guess I just saw on Instagram that she is going to be starting a podcast, which I'm super excited about. So Brandy, way to go. I'm excited for your podcast. But this is the second sock of my vanilla, they are vanilla socks, but it's my February sock. So here is the second sock. Don't have a whole lot done, but I'm getting there. I just casted these on like yesterday, so considering, that's pretty good. So this pink color is the February colorway, and then this berry color here is the fig colorway. It came in a sock set. And this is just your basic vanilla sock pattern. I'm using a size 0 Hiya Sharp, and I did a 58 stitch cuff, knit 2, purl 2, and then I am doing the leg for about 7 inches, and then I will do a heel flap and gusset because I am a heel flap and gusset gal. So yeah, I'm really loving these and sharing space with these. Another project using my own hand-dyed yarn, Fiber for the People yarn. I'm so excited about this, you guys, because this colorway, which is called Oil Spill, I had made this skein, and it was the only one I dyed. There was only one in the pot, and I always have at least 2 skeins. No, not at least. I have 2 skeins in a pot. I have 3 to 4 skeins in a pan. It really depends on the colorway and how I've kind of formulated the color to work. But this, I put 1 skein in the pot and created this colorway, and that's really a no-no when generally you dye 2 skeins per pot, because it's not going to be the same when you add a whole nother skein of yarn when it comes to your dye to water ratio and all of this. So I hadn't, up until the last episode, or prior to the last episode, I hadn't figured out how to recreate this colorway, and I love it so much. This is called Oil Spill. And I will pop up a picture of what this colorway looked like in the skein, because I don't have that skein anymore because this is the only one. And this is the way that it looks in a cake. It's really, really beautiful. It has, I love that you see this gray running through it, but it's pretty blues and teals and this fuchsia color running through with a real deep gray kind of strip going throughout the whole skein when it's all skeined, and that gray represents the oil spill. So this is the cake of Oil Spill. The picture of the skein, you just saw that. So that's what this looks like, and it's really, really gorgeous. I'll get you up in there so you can see. Yeah, I love this colorway so much. And then this is the sock that I am knitting with this color. And again, it's another vanilla sock. These are my Oil Spill socks. So here we have a vanilla sock using Fiber for the People in the Oil Spill colorway, and I am pleased to announce that I have formulated the colorway so that I can recreate this for you guys. So Oil Spill will be in the shop on launch day, which is June 1st, and I will show you that skein in just a little bit when I show the yarn that's going to be in the launch, the new yarn, the yarns I haven't showed you. So yeah, so this is my Oil Spill sock, and gosh, you guys, looking at it in the screen right now, I love these little pops of gray that kind of come out in the colorway that represent that oil spill. Oh, it looks so great. I'm really excited about that. And then the kind of this little micro striping that's happening up here with the colors. Yeah, you guys, I love it so much. I'm sorry, I feel like so in your face about how much I'm loving these colorways, but you guys, I'm really, really excited about it. So Oil Spill. I stole this skein because it was the only one, and I figured I could just sell this one-of-a-kind skein because, you know, that happens. You get one-of-a-kind skeins, which are really cool because they're one-of-a-kind, but I just loved it so much. I kept going into the yarn cubby and, like, grabbing it and looking at it, you know, thinking about how I could recreate it and really analyzing, like, what kind of, like, proportions I would need so that I could recreate the colorway, but also just secretly, like, coveting the colorway. And so finally I was just like, goes in my stash and it's mine now. I love it so much. And the stitch definition is really beautiful. This is my 2-ply Tailor's Favorite base, which is an 80/20 superwash merino and nylon. Real nice, soft merino, but also a good sturdy feel, and those 2 plies, like we mentioned before, kind of lends itself to a really pretty stitch definition. So that is Oil Spill, and in a moment I will show you the skein of Oil Spill. I have a tangled mess on my lap right now, but I'm just going to stick this in here and deal with it when I pull them out in a minute. So yeah, I love that. So we have Long Dog yarn in the February colorway and Fiber for the People yarn in the Oil Spill colorway, and this is living in my little cosmetics pouch from Cost Plus that was gifted to me by my dear friend Lauren. And there are my 2 little cakes of yarn, and my projects are in there, and I'm loving it. 2 socks coming. I'm hoping that I have a faux and a hoe with these socks in my next episode. So that's that. I have some really fun acquisitions that I want to share with you guys today. Really, really special things. So I'm really excited to get into this. Everything that's in this is just so magical to me. So first things first, Pow, who is the host of the Pow Knits podcast, is just a lovely person. In addition to the gift, he sent me this really cool, handwritten letter, which I think is so special to have something handwritten from somebody who you've never met in person, and who lives so far away. So he sent this to me in addition to this bag. Now this is kind of a backpack style project bag that was made by his mom. And he told me that his mom made this project bag in addition to like 200 others like this. And I'm not exactly sure what the purpose for making so many. Maybe she was selling them at the time. But it's so beautifully made. This fabric is gorgeous. And the black straps are a really fun accent. And on the inside, it's kind of like a linen twill type fabric on the inside here. I don't really know if you can kind of see that, but it's really nice, durable fabric. And there's a really good pocket in here where I can keep things, and I just love it. There's, hey Pow, there's a little strand of yarn in here, which is not mine, and it didn't come with the bag, and so this must have been a strand of yarn that was from a project Pow worked on. So Pow, I don't know if you recognize this strand of yarn, but it was in the project bag, which I'm gonna keep because I think that's really special. And in this, he sent me not only the collar, but he also sent me a lemon ginger tea by Pucka, which I really love Pucka's licorice tea. They have a licorice tea that I really like. So he sent me some tea, and he also sent me, you guys, this yarn is incredible. I can't wait to show you. It's yarn by Onion. Here is the little stack of yarn. And look at these colors. Like, doesn't this just scream brioche or some kind of like fun Stephen West shawl? I mean, please, it's gorgeous. So I love these colors so much, but here is what's so awesome about this yarn, you guys. It's an organic wool, but the fiber that's being used to add that strength and durability to the yarn in place of nylon is actually nettles, the plant, the shrub. They use that because it has the same quality as nylon does in wool socks using nylon, is it provides that extra little bit of durability to the yarn, and you're not using, nylon. If that's an issue, if you don't like using nylon, whatever, it's just an all natural, 100% natural yarn, but it still has that durability of a yarn that has a nylon infusion. And it's all made in Italy. It is 70% wool, 30% nettle fibers, and I have this green color, which is a fingering weight yarn, and then this beautiful pink fuchsia color is also a fingering weight yarn, and then this pretty kind of lavender purple color is more of a worsted weight yarn, maybe even a DK weight. It might be more of a DK weight, but it's beautiful. It's really, really gorgeous. Love it. Pow, thank you so much. I think it's gorgeous. So in addition to this awesome project bag and the lovely tea, so that was from Pow from Barcelona. Thank you so much. The next was sent to me. Hannah, she contacted me a few weeks ago, and she asked if she could send me fan post, just for the sake of sending me fan mail. And it really, really made my day when I received her email asking to send me something like that. I've never received anything like that before, and it just makes me feel so great knowing that somebody would want to send me something from where they're from to give a little bit more about them, so I get to know the viewers out there a little bit better. I really, really love that so much. And so this came to me from Hannah. She's also the one who provided last episode's local yarn store that I featured at the end of the episode in Helsinki. She's from Helsinki, and this is where this package is from. And so I'm really excited to share this with you. So in the package And everything was so meticulously wrapped and beautiful. Some of the wrapping is not here anymore because I've opened it and kind of looked into it, and I threw away some of the tissue paper, but I kept some things wrapped as best I could. So here is the package. I'm just gonna kind of show you. So this is the inside of the package. This is a little separate paper right here, but she had all these really cute tapes. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this adorable little card. She wrote me a little message in this card. I love the print. So precious, so sweet. This is by Putinki Pressed, and it is made in Helsinki, Finland. Then she sent me some yummy goodies to try. So this is Craft Chocolate Stone Ground in Helsinki, and it's wild blueberry chocolate. And I'm really interested to give this a try. It is 61% cacao, raw, organic, and vegan. Let's try it out, you guys. See what it looks like. So you open it up, it says wild blueberry, unique combination of raw chocolate and wild blueberries gathered from the Finnish wilderness. So here it is, a little corner of the chocolate. All right. It's really good. You know, typically, ooh, the blueberry really comes out. It takes a minute, but it's almost like a blueberry finish. If you like are a wine drinker, this tastes like a really rich brownie or a really rich chocolate cake. The chocolate is really vibrant. I don't know if that's a good description. It's not bitter. There's no like bitterness happening there. I mean, you can tell that it's cacao, but it doesn't have that like bitter coat your tongue flavor. Oh, and that blueberry flavor is like a really pleasant surprise. Oh, Hannah, thank you so much. I really, really love this. Okay, the next thing, there's more chocolate. You guys, I'm gonna have like a chocolate coma. She also sent, so this is Carl Fraser. There's this one, and then there is this one, which looks like it has a nut variety. No, caramel. This is salted caramel, and this is just milk chocolate. It says it in English right there. So I am definitely going to try the milk chocolate with crunchy caramel and sea salt first, because caramel. The Finnish really know how to make chocolate. I mean, the Dutch know how to make chocolate. The Finnish know how to make chocolate. The caramel is so crunchy that it's like you're almost like biting into little nuts, but it's not nuts, you know, because it's super rich caramel flavor. So let's try this out. This is just the milk chocolate. And I probably don't even have to tell you that it's insane. Like, I just want to turn off the camera and have a moment with the chocolate by myself. But I'm not gonna do that. It's delicious. Okay, moving on. The chocolate's amazing. Hannah, what are you doing to me? It's gorgeous. It's delicious. It's not gorgeous. Chocolate isn't gorgeous. Chocolate is chocolate. Okay, the next goodie is this salted licorice. What? Let's see. Salted licorice. This is a totally different flavor experience. If you're a black licorice fan, salted licorice is really special. This gives you that satisfaction of the black licorice, satisfaction that you get from having salt in your sweets. Enough of me eating things in front of you. I'm surprised I'm even okay with doing that. I feel like that would make me really uncomfortable generally, but I wanted you to experience that with me. Cleanse my palate a little bit. All right, so let's move on. There's some more things in this package that I want to share with you other than just the edible things that are delicious. She also sent me from her stash this beautiful, beautiful skein of yarn. So this is by Listig Yarn, which is an indie dyer in Helsinki or in Finland. And this yarn's beautiful, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the colorway after I show you the yarns. This is a beautiful kind of neon pink color with neon oranges coming through right here. It's really, really lovely. So beautiful. And I don't know if holding it back further keeps it from being blown out. I don't think that really helps any. But it's gorgeous. The colors in this kind of conjure up images of like tropical summertime. But really, she tells me a little bit more about this colorway. In the package, she sends me a letter. So not only does she write to me a little note in the card, there's a little letter in here which she seals with her really cute tape so she can tell me a little bit more about herself and some of the things that she included in here. Now, I'm not going to read you the whole letter, but I will tell you what she says about this colorway of this yarn. She says, in Finland, we celebrate midsummer at the end of June. It's beginning of warm summer weather, we hope, and time for nightless nights when the sun never goes down. We set bonfires to lakesides and by the sea. Color of this yarn looks just like these lakesides. The color of this yarn looks just like these fires in warm midsummer nights. And when she told me that, or when I read that, this colorway kind of took a whole new shape for me, because it really does make you think of that, like a bonfire and that glow and halo that surrounds a bonfire, you know, in evenings when the sun is not going down. It's still, you know, daylight outside, essentially. I don't know, it just, I think that it made this yarn that much more special. So again, like, here is the yarn a little bit blown out. I will be taking a picture of this and posting it on Instagram, so that picture will show this definitely more accurate, true to color, but it's gorgeous, and that description fits it so perfectly, so that it makes this yarn very, very special to me. So Hannah, thank you so much for this, for these treats. She also included in this little package some stitch markers, or progress keeper. No, they're just stitch markers. And these are them right here. And she tells me a little bit about these stitch markers in this letter. Those 4 little stitch markers are from a Finnish company called Sukoploki. All of their products are made from recycled materials, mostly industrial leftovers. They make also other cheerful knitting supplies, and she likes these very much. And so I think that's great. And then last, but certainly not least, and I'm really excited about this because I'm kind of I know that I'm going to be running out of space in my current podcast notes notebook here. This is where I keep all of my show notes. She sent me a notebook. And just like everything else, this notebook is also made in Helsinki. It's awesome. I love this print. The back has the little clouds. It's just blank pages. So really cool place to take notes, good place for me to keep my podcast show notes, other notes about things that I'm working on, podcast related, yarn, dyeing, fiber for the people, what have you. But I really love this, and it looks so cute, kind of paired with this card together in the package. Really awesome stuff. I'm so thankful, grateful for the relationships that are kind of being built surrounding this podcast and everything that we're doing here at Wool Needles Hands. And so this kind of thing is just a testament to what we're bringing together here. So Hannah, thank you so much. This means more to me than I can possibly express here. But yeah, I value this. I cherish this. This means so much to me to receive, you know, a post like this, for no reason even, just because. And so that really means a lot to me. So again, thank you so much. I am so proud to share this here on the podcast. If today is Wednesday, the day that you are watching the podcast, the day that I upload the podcast, then that means that tomorrow is Thursday and June 1st, which means that it is a big day for me and for Fiber for the People, because it is the day that Fiber for the People launches out into the knittosophere so that you guys can partake in the yarny goodness that's happening over there. And I am so excited. I've been eagerly awaiting this day, working so hard to stock my shelves here at Fiber for the People headquarters with beautiful yarns for you guys for June 1st. So I'm going to share with you guys just a few of the new colorways that I have not shared with you in the past. I might actually be sharing with you, there's a couple back there that are ones you may have seen before, but they're on different bases. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, but to give you an idea of what's going to be coming your way tomorrow, June 1st, for the Fiber for the People launch. And then I also have something special for the viewers of the Wool Needles Hands podcast, is a coupon code to receive 15% off your first purchase of Fiber for the People yarns. So without further ado, I'll just go ahead and give you that coupon code. If you are a viewer of the Wool Needles Hands podcast and you've made it this far into episode 10, thank you so much for being a viewer, for supporting this, for subscribing, for liking, and all of that. Your coupon code is WNH15 Fiber. WNH 15 Fiber, and you will receive 15% off your first order from Fiber for the People. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share with you from my pyramid of yarn behind me some of the new colorways that are going to be hitting the shop on June 1st for the launch. Okay, Let's see if I can do this without making a huge mess. All right, we're already making a mess. This is a lot of yarn. It's a lot of yarn. Set some of it over here. A little of it over here. Some of it there. Some more of it right there. Some of it on my lap. Nope. Just put it over here. You get some yarn. You get some yarn. All right, I think I'm ready. Okay, so let's start with new colorways first. The newest colorway that I have here, I'm so excited to share this one with you guys. I love it so much. So this is the colorway Hypercolor shirt. If you are a child of the 90s or of the 80s and you remember these, Hypercolor shirts were t-shirts that would change color if you touched them. And so you could see if somebody came up and patted you on the back, the shirt would change color and leave a handprint. It was just this, it was kind of all the rage in the early 90s. I think they came out in 1991. But this colorway is called Hypercolor shirt, and you've seen it already because this is the one I showed you earlier in the podcast. But here it is. So Hypercolor shirt will be on a couple different bases. We have 70, actually they're both, no, excuse me. This is my loft base. This is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon. Let's see if I can get it to focus. I'm calling this my loft base. It is a very nice soft sock base here. 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and it has a really nice, kind of nice halo to it. Just really soft and scrumptious. So here it is on the singles base. So beautiful. Just really dig this so much, you guys. So this is called Hypercolor shirt, and it will be available for you on June 1st in very limited quantities. This is a new colorway. I've dyed up a very limited quantity of these, so if you like it, strike while the iron is hot because they could go pretty fast. They are pretty popular on Instagram already, so I'm pretty confident that these are going to go fast. The next most recent colorway, I guess you could say this is like an inspiration, like a 90s inspired colorway. The colorway name just kind of came to mind when I dyed this up. So this is called Punk Music Made Me Do It, and this is on my singles base. Oh, heavens to Betsy. Look at that. Fuchsia, chartreuse, black speckles happening here. This is on the singles, and this next one is on my new 80-20. It's not replacing my current Taylor's Favorite 80-20. It's an additional 80-20 that I'm adding. It is 80% BFL, 20% nylon, and it's 80% superwash BFL, Blue Face Leicester, and 20% nylon. And I love it so much. It's got that 2-ply twist, which I love. Great stitch definition. It's a little less, it has a less soft hand than merino, but it's nice and soft still, but it's going to be a little bit more durable, a little bit more hard wearing. But if you still like a 2-ply, but you want it to be a little bit more durable than a merino, then this is a really good way to go. Still soft, but a little bit more durable than that really fine merino wool. So this is Punk Music Made Me Do It on 80-20 BFL nylon. So you have it on singles and you have it on 80-20. Ooh, I love it. I love it. I popped this up on Instagram, on the Wool Needles Hands Instagram, as well as the Fiber for the People Instagram, and it got a lot of attention. People are really digging this. There's something about black speckles. I don't know, I'm loving it. So this is called Gotta Lava Mauna Loa. If you know anything about volcanoes or Hawaii, you're gonna get this reference. So Gotta Lava Mauna Loa. Mauna Loa is the ever-flowing volcano in Hawaii. And that's what I think of when I see this. So I have this here for you on a single ply base. So this is my singles. I really love it on this, but I love it on the 4-ply 75-25 as well. So look at that. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So pretty. So this is Gotta Lava Mauna Loa on the 75-25. So pretty. Those black speckles really add something. So there's that. All right. Okay, so the next most recent colorway is my new oil spill. So I made a copy of oil spill, or I tried to kind of reformulate oil spill so I could recreate what I did with that single skein that I showed you earlier in the podcast episode. But my results previously came out a little bit more muted than I was hoping for, not quite saturated enough. And that is this right here. It's beautiful. I love it. I think this is a really beautiful colorway, and it does have all of those all of those oil spill colors in here, but they're all just much more muted. So this is going to be in the shop as oil spill, except it's going to be categorized as a misfit, not because there is anything wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just, it's not the colorway. It doesn't match the colorway enough that makes me feel comfortable to just list it as oil spill without putting that misfit tag, just because I want to make sure that even though all skeins kind of vary, this is a little bit too varied, because if you see a picture of oil spill looking like what I want it to look like and then you receive this, it's just too different. So I would definitely want you to know that you're not going to be getting that if you order this. So this is going to be listed completely separately as oil spill misfit. It's not going to be a reduced price. There's nothing wrong with this. It's beautiful. It's just for somebody who wants those colors that you see in oil spill, but just maybe a little less saturated. So that's what that is. I do have a few different misfits that go along with some of the colorways that I'll show you guys. I have some to show you here. Oil spill, the way I would like it to be, is here. So I'm going to show you it on my 80/20. So this is Taylor's favorite base. This is 80/20 Superwash Merino Nylon, and it's a 2-ply twist, and it has all those colors in there that I want to see in oil spill. The blues, the teals, the fuchsia, and then of course that gray streak that runs through. You can kind of see it a little bit right here. There it is. So you're going to get that gray streak running through, which represents the oil in the oil spill. And it's happening in here too. This is the 80/20, and then you also have it on single ply. You can see more oil, I guess you could say, that gray running through. Colors will come out a little bit lighter on a single ply yarn, just because you only have one ply for the color to attach itself to, so it always looks a little bit less saturated on single ply, but it's still so beautiful. I love the way it looks on single ply yarn, especially with that gray kind of running throughout. So pretty. So this is oil spill, and you have your 80/20 and your single ply together, and I love it. And this is what I am using to knit my little socks with. Of course, what I'm using to knit my socks with is the original skein. It might be a little tiny bit different than this, but this is the way that I have formulated oil spill best I can to replicate that, and I think it looks fabulous. So I'm really excited about this. Also have oil spill misfit. So this is kind of the difference that you're going to see. This is the oil spill, the single ply yarn, the way that it's formulated now, and then this is the misfit, which is a little bit lighter. So you can see that those colors are there. They're just very muted. So if you love this, but you really don't want that saturated color, then the misfit might be perfect for you. This is Seagull. Now Seagull also uses black speckles, and the combination of black speckles with gray and yellow is just, it blows my mind, you guys. So this is Seagull on my 80/20. It has a really nice gray base, kind of a light silver gray base with a fun yellow kind of going through and the black speckles. And I was inspired to dye this color because of a picture I saw of a seagull standing on a sidewalk. That's it. There's a seagull standing on a sidewalk. The seagull was white with black, legs, and that black strip that runs along the feathers of a seagull, and the yellow beak, and then the gray tones of the sidewalk. I just thought that is such a cool look. And so this is kind of what I came up with. So this is the Seagull on an 80/20. Now this is Seagull in my single ply yarn, the singles base. And I love this so much because it looks like baby bird feathers. And I think that's awesome. So here is singles, Seagull, singles, Seagull. Look at that. Can you see how soft and lofty that looks? Or I guess lofty maybe isn't the right word. The halo that goes with that. You guys. Gosh, I get such a kick out of seeing it on the screen. So yeah, so that is Seagull in the singles base. It will be in singles, it will be in 75-25, and it will be in 80-20. So Taylor's favorite, singles, and workhorse. All right, the next color is a Lucky Strike color, and what that means is that it is a one of a kind. It's actually two of a kind. There are only two of these skeins that are going to be going into the shop. This was a color that was created from some leftover pink dye and a little bit of leftover navy speckles. And so this is called Gum on My Shoe. I like it because of the way the pink kind of blends with this like navy gray speckling going on. It's like what happens to your gum when it gets stuck to your shoe. So this is Gum on My Shoe, and it is on my MCN base. So it is your 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. This is called Costanza. If you go to my website for fiberforthepeopleYarn.com, you'll read the base description there and you'll understand why I call this Costanza. But this is Gum on My Shoe. There have been more Bird of Paradise that I've dyed up. I dyed up Bird of Paradise on my silk, 80% superwash merino, 20% silk base, which I love. Really nice drape for shawls. Adds a nice sheen to the yarn. And then I also have it, some more of it on my 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And I also have a bunch of this on my 80% superwash Highland wool and 20% nylon, which is my rugged sock base, which has been discontinued. I'm no longer going to be using that. I'm replacing it with the BFL 80/20, but there will be some of that on that base as well. Okay, Craig Nadoon is another one of my colorways. I show it in my previous project and in my exploration station. It's that beautiful green and toffee and gray colorway. Well, a batch of that came out looking not like Craig Nadoon and looking more like camo pants. And so this is a Craig Nadoon misfit, and I have 4 of these that will be in the shop because after that first batch I didn't want to make any more like this, so I kind of figured out what I was doing wrong. I wasn't really doing anything wrong, but I just figured out what I was not doing the way I had done before and tweaked it, so this was just kind of a mishap. So here is the misfit for Craig Nadoon. This is going to be listed as camo pants because I could not resist. It's a really cool colorway. I love it a lot. I don't plan on recreating this just because I have my Craig Nadoon colorway, but yeah, I'm really loving this. And this is going to be on the 80/20 superwash merino nylon, Taylor's favorite. But yeah, so we have camo pants as a Craig Nadoon misfit. And then also last but certainly not least, we have some more Granny's tea dress. Granny's tea dress is one of my favorite colorways. It's a beautiful, muted, very gentle speckled colorway. So here is Granny's tea dress on 80% merino, 20% nylon, Taylor's favorite base. See if I can get it to focus. So there's Granny's tea dress. You can see the purple speckling happening in here. There's a nice pistachio color, a really pretty blush color going on in there. It's gorgeous, nice and soft. And I have it on 75-25 loft base. You can really see the pistachio in this one. I like that. And there's some really pretty speckles happening right here. And then I also have a few of the skeins on my DK base. This is my toasty base. This is 100% superwash BFL 4-ply. Beautiful. If you want to do a nice DK project with this. So there we go, Granny's tea dress. And there will also be some misfits that go along with Granny's tea dress. And I almost want to call this Granny's party dress, but I'm not going to. It's just going to be Granny's tea dress misfit. If you like the colors in Granny's tea dress, but you want them a little bit more punchy, a little bit more saturated, then look no further than the Granny's tea dress misfit, because that is exactly what this provides you. So here it is. This is Granny's tea dress, but the misfit version. It's just a little bit more saturated in those colorways. This has been reskeined, so you can see that the color is more distributed. Kind of gives you more of an idea of what it would look like when you cake it up. So there's that. It's going to be listed as a Granny's tea dress misfit, but it's beautiful. And this is on an 80/20 superwash merino nylon. And that's that. So that is what we are going to have that's new added to the shop. You guys, we're looking at close to, I want to say like 220 skeins of yarn that are going to be popping in the shop. Tons of beautiful yarn, but from the way things have been going, I have a feeling that those are going to go very, very fast. So please, if you see what you like, definitely mark your calendars. June 1st, 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time is when the shop is going to be launched. I'm really excited. I'm really just I'm anxious, I'm nervous, but you guys, I think it's going to be a really, really great, successful launch. So thank you so much for supporting this endeavor, for being here with me through this whole process, for sending your thoughts, your encouragement, your warm well wishes. It just means so much to me. So I'm excited to share that with you. I'm excited for June 1st. Be there or be square, you guys. I want you to be able to get some of this beautiful yarn to squish and feel and knit with, because like I said earlier, it's beautiful yarn. I'm so proud to say that, and I'm so proud to say that I love knitting with it. I love the colors. I love what I'm creating, and it just makes me so proud. So definitely get involved with Fiber for the People. fiberforthepeopleyarn.com, and on Instagram at fiber.for.the.people. Check it out and stay posted. Alright guys, it's almost time for me to go, but before I go, as always, I just want to remind you guys about the local yarn store call to action. I've gotten some really, really great emails and footage from really cool yarn shops all over, so please send in your footage for your local yarn shops. It could be video, it could be photographs, it doesn't matter what it is, send it in to me, give me your Ravelry ID or your Instagram ID, or if you'd like to remain anonymous, that's fine, and I will feature your local yarn store at the end of one of the podcast episodes, because I just would like to, like I always say, expand our reach in this community so people can see some of these cool local yarn shops in the physical knitting communities of people all over the world. So please get involved, send me that. You can send that to woolneedleshands@gmail.com. That is the email address linked to the podcast. Get involved. I can't wait to get footage from you guys. I know there's some really beautiful yarn stores out there that you guys would love to share, so please do it. I can't wait. Alright guys, it's time for me to head out, but I want to thank you again so much for stopping by and spending some of your day with me, for hanging around and chatting about knitting and making and whatever it is that we're working on, and partaking in the Fiber for the People with me and sharing in that, because I am so excited about it, and I hope you're excited about it as well. It just makes me so proud. To be over 2,000 subscribers in such a short time, I can never tell you enough. I will never be able to adequately tell you how much that means to me. So please know that at the end of every one of these episodes, I thank my lucky stars for the opportunity to be able to hang out with you guys and spend this time. So I'm starting to lose my voice. I've done a lot of talking, and I have some family stuff that we're going to be doing today. I'm going to go over and see my brother and my sister-in-law who are in town from Texas with my niece, and we're going to go have a really fun evening with the family right now. So I can't wait to do that, but I'm just really happy to be able to sign off after a really nice time with you guys. So happy knitting, happy whatever it is that you're doing, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks for episode 11 of the podcast. See ya!